I saw a man through my binoculars digging a large hole with a shovel, and near him was a big wooden box. The moment he opened that box, I was horrified. They were 3 newborn German Shepherd puppies placed inside a coffin. It was a terrible scene, one I can never forget. I always have that scene in my mind, and it will shock you too. Please subscribe and comment "I love dogs" and tell us where you're watching from and how you would react if you witnessed such a scene. By doing so little, we make a huge difference. We raise awareness in the community. A subscription, a comment, is like making a donation, because the video reaches more hearts, more eyes and ears, and we sensitize an entire population. The sun beat down with an unforgiving intensity, a vast, brilliant disk in the sky of such an electric, cloudless blue that it seemed painted onto the infinite canvas above. The air itself shimmered and danced above the heat-hazed horizon, where the faint, silver ribbon of a distant river snaked through the arid landscape. My boonie hat, though wide-brimmed and sturdy, felt like a flimsy barrier against the relentless assault of the solar furnace. A bead of sweat traced a path down my temple, tickling my jawline before disappearing into the coarse fabric of my tactical vest. The vest, with its multitude of pockets and reinforced stitching, was a familiar weight, a second skin I wore on my excursions. My binoculars hung heavy around my neck, a constant companion, ready to bring distant wonders, or in this case, horrors, into sharp focus. This particular patch of wilderness was my sanctuary, a rugged tapestry of sun-baked earth, resilient thorny bushes, and the occasional gnarled tree clinging defiantly to life with roots sunk deep into the unforgiving soil. It was a place of profound solitude where the whispers of the wind and the distant cry of a circling hawk were often the only sounds to break the silence. I was drawn to these wild, untamed spaces, seeking out new trails, observing the intricate dance of nature, and sometimes simply losing myself in the vast, humbling expanse of it all. My 2 adult German Shepherds, courageous and loyal companions with eyes like amber and hearts of gold, usually accompanied me. Their keen senses and boundless energy, an invaluable asset on these long treks. However, on this particular day, they were resting at home, having earned a reprieve after a particularly strenuous and extended trek the day before. I'd promised them a good, long run the following morning, a chance to stretch their powerful legs and chase unseen scents. But today was just a quick recon mission, a solo venture to scout a potential new path I'd meticulously marked on a topographical map. The terrain was typical for this region, a brutal beauty carved by wind and time. Dry, cracked earth, mottled with patches of stubborn, dust-colored grass and scattered stones stretched as far as the eye could see. The only breaks in this monotonous tableau were the dense thickets of mesquite and creosote bushes, their branches gnarled and spiky, offering meager shade but excellent cover. The profound silence that usually settled over this landscape was, on this day, about to be shattered, not by sound, but by an image, an act of such raw, unthinking cruelty that it would forever scar my memory. I was making my way across a particularly desolate stretch, skirting a formidable thicket of those stubborn, spiky bushes, when a fleeting glint of movement, an unnatural disturbance against the muted browns and greens caught my eye. It was far off to my right, almost imperceptible, a flicker at the very edge of my peripheral vision. But years of training, countless hours spent observing the subtle shifts in the wild, had honed my senses to an almost instinctual level. I stopped dead in my tracks, dropping to a low crouch as effortlessly as a shadow falling into place. My hand instinctively went to my binoculars, lifting them to my eyes with practiced ease. Through the powerful lenses, the distant movement resolved itself into the unmistakable figure of a man. He was in an open, cleared area, a small, unnatural patch of disturbed earth that stood out against the untouched wildness around it. My gaze narrowed, focusing with laser precision on him. He was wielding a shovel, digging. At first, my mind, ever eager to rationalize, assumed he was perhaps a prospector or someone involved in some rudimentary form of agricultural work. But the soil here was too poor, the land too unforgiving for cultivation, and there were no signs of mining. A nascent sense of unease began to prickle at the back of my neck, a cold premonition in the blazing heat. As I watched, riveted, his movements grew increasingly strange. They were jerky, agitated, almost frantic. He wasn't digging with the rhythmic, purposeful movements of someone engaged in honest labor. This was a furious, almost violent action, each thrust of the shovel imbued with a disturbing intensity. He seemed to be muttering to himself, his head bobbing erratically, his free hand occasionally gesticulating wildly, as if arguing with an unseen opponent. Even from this considerable distance, through the powerful magnification of the binoculars, I could almost feel the raw, untamed anger radiating from him, a palpable aura of distress and malevolence. His posture was hunched, almost conspiratorial, yet his movements were explosive, a stark contradiction that amplified the unsettling nature of the scene.
Then, my breath hitched in my throat. Beside the burgeoning mound of freshly dug earth, there was a large rectangular wooden box. It was too big for a toolbox, too elegant for mere storage. It possessed a peculiar, almost solemn appearance, its polished surface reflecting the harsh sunlight with an eerie gleam. My mind raced, frantically trying to construct a narrative, a logical explanation for this tableau. A man, agitated and furious, digging a large, deep hole in the desolate middle of nowhere with a strange, foreboding wooden box beside him. What could he be doing? What was he trying to bury? Or perhaps, what was he trying so desperately to conceal? The possibilities that flickered through my mind were all unsettling, each one more macabre than the last. Stolen goods? A dark secret? Something unspeakable. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for the true, gut-wrenching horror of what he was about to reveal. The scenario played out like a grotesque, slow-motion scene from a macabre film, each frame burned into my memory with chilling, indelible clarity. I lowered myself further, instinctively melting into the meager, prickly cover of the thorny bushes, careful not to snap a twig or dislodge a stone that might betray my hidden presence. My heart began to pound, a slow, heavy drumbeat against my ribs, each throb echoing the growing sense of dread that coiled in my gut. Curiosity, now heavily tinged with a cold, insistent fear, compelled me to stay, to watch, to understand the horrific unfolding drama. He continued to dig, oblivious to my hidden vigil. Sweat visibly plastered strands of his hair to his forehead, and his face was contorted into a grimace of effort and what looked like profound inner torment. His breath came in ragged, desperate gasps, sounds I could almost hear across the distance, magnified by the unnatural silence of the wilderness. The hole grew deeper, wider, a dark, gaping maw opening in the earth. He threw the dirt with an almost desperate abandon, each shovelful propelled with a force that spoke of deep-seated rage, or perhaps an almost manic desperation. He seemed to be talking, or rather yelling at the hole, or perhaps at himself, his body shaking with the effort and the intensity of his emotions. The words were indistinct, lost to the whispering wind and the vast distance, but the tone was undeniably hostile, venomous, filled with a raw, malevolent energy that made my skin crawl. He seemed to be fighting not just the earth, but an unseen enemy, an internal demon that drove his frantic actions. Finally, with a guttural grunt, he tossed the shovel aside, leaning it against the growing reddish-brown pile of dirt. He wiped his brow with the back of a grimy hand, then walked over to the wooden box, his movements still jerky, his shoulders hunched with a strange mix of weariness and anticipation. My breath caught in my throat, freezing there. This was it, the reveal. My imagination, already working overtime, conjured increasingly terrifying possibilities. A dismembered body, a cache of illicit weapons, something utterly unspeakable. But my darkest imaginings were utterly inadequate, pale shadows compared to the true, gut-wrenching horror he was about to unveil. He bent down, grunting with effort, and lifted the lid of the wooden box. My binoculars were trained squarely on him, my vision tunneled, hyper-focused, excluding everything else from my perception. The lid came off with soft, almost reverent thud, revealing a lining, a silky, satin-like lining, cream-colored, draped neatly and meticulously within the box. And nestled within that luxurious, almost sacred interior were 3 tiny, vulnerable forms. My blood ran cold, a glacial river through my veins. My hands, gripping the binoculars so tightly my knuckles were white, began to tremble uncontrollably. It couldn't be. My mind struggled, fought against the image, refusing to process the monstrous reality of what I was seeing. 3 newborn German Shepherd puppies, barely bigger than my hand, their eyes still tightly closed, their soft fur a rich, dappled brown, huddled together, blind and utterly helpless. And the box wasn't just a wooden container, it was an infant's coffin. A miniature, polished wooden coffin, clearly designed for the solemn burial of a child, now holding these innocent, breathing creatures. The world seemed to tilt violently on its axis. The brilliant blue sky above suddenly felt oppressive, suffocating, and the warm, benevolent sun above felt like a cold, accusing eye. A wave of profound nausea washed over me, a sickening churn in my stomach, mingling with a surge of incandescent, uncontrollable rage that threatened to consume me whole. My initial confusion, my desperate attempts at rationalization dissolved entirely, replaced by a searing, visceral fury that burned like wildfire through my veins. How could a human being commit such an abominable act? To place such innocent, fragile life, vibrant and new, brimming with untapped potential, into an instrument of death? To condemn them to such a premature, cruel end, not in a crude, hastily constructed box, but in a coffin, implying a deliberate, almost ritualistic cruelty, a calculated malevolence that defied comprehension. My jaw clenched so tight it ached, a dull throb resonating through my temples. My eyes burned with unshed tears of rage and sorrow, but I couldn't tear them away from the horrifying spectacle. The man stood there for a moment, looking down at the puppies with a twisted expression, a chilling mixture of disgust, impatience, and, I dare say, a strange, sickening kind of triumph. He then reached into the coffin, carefully, almost delicately, and adjusted one of the puppies, nudging it deeper into the corner of the satin lining, as if ensuring its proper placement, its perfect fit within its deathbed. This careful brutality, this cold, methodical approach to ending innocent lives, this chilling precision in his cruelty was what truly pushed me over the edge, sending a lightning bolt of righteous fury through my entire being. It was a scene ripped straight from the darkest depths of a horror film, only it was agonizingly real,
unfolding before my very eyes in the harsh, unforgiving light of day. The utter depravity of it was almost incomprehensible, a stain on the very fabric of humanity. My mind reeled with unanswerable questions. Why? What possible transgression could these tiny, helpless creatures have committed to deserve such a cruel, premature, and utterly undeserved end? What kind of monster would do this? The injustice of it was a physical blow, a burning agony in my chest that threatened to erupt. To what extent has humanity descended? I muttered, the words a raw, choked whisper that seemed swallowed by the vast, indifferent silence of the desert. How long will these unscrupulous acts against innocent animals continue? My hand instinctively went to my phone, fumbling slightly with the rough fabric of my vest. I had to do something, anything. This couldn't stand. This man, this cruel, deranged individual, couldn't be allowed to get away with this monstrous act. My fingers trembled slightly as I dialed the emergency services, my heart still racing a frantic, uneven rhythm against my ribs. "Hello, I need to report an extremely urgent situation," I began, my voice tight, strained with suppressed anger and adrenaline, a tremor running through each word. "I'm in the wilderness, near the dry riverbed, about 5 miles east of the old abandoned quarry, I believe. There's a man here, and he's burying newborn puppies alive, in a coffin." I explained the situation in a torrent of words, my voice rising with urgency, trying to convey the unimaginable gravity and the immediate life-or-death danger to the puppies. I gave them my precise GPS coordinates, double-checking the readout on my wrist device, my eyes still fixed on the man. "It's real time, officers. He's still here. He's just placed them in the coffin, in the hole he's dug. It's urgent, absolutely critical. Please, you have to get here now. Every second counts." The dispatcher, bless her calm, professional efficiency, remained remarkably composed despite the shocking nature of my report. She assured me they were mobilizing a unit immediately, dispatching the closest available patrol. But even as I spoke to the police, the blood was boiling in my veins, a raging inferno of indignation. The rage, the sheer, unadulterated fury at the injustice being inflicted upon those 3 poor, innocent creatures was an overwhelming torrent that threatened to burst the fragile dam of my self-control. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, not from fear, but from a profound, uncontrollable anger, a visceral response to the blatant cruelty I was witnessing. A part of me, the rational, disciplined part, wanted to wait, to let the authorities handle it, to follow procedure, to ensure everything was done by the book. But another more primal part of me, a deep-seated instinct for justice and protection, screamed for immediate action. I couldn't just stand by and watch another second pass, with those puppies trapped in that cold, dark grave. Every second felt like an eternity, a betrayal of their helplessness. I didn't wait any longer. The decision was made in a flash of pure, unadulterated fury and an overwhelming sense of moral obligation. I rose from my low crouch, shedding the meager camouflage of the thorny bushes, and strode purposefully, determinedly, towards the man. My boots crunched loudly on the dry earth, each step resonating like a drumbeat, announcing my presence. He looked up, startled, his head snapping towards me with a sudden, jerky movement. His face, which had been a twisted mask of anger and something profoundly disturbing, now shifted rapidly to surprise, then to raw, undiluted hostility. "What do you want?" he snarled, his voice rough, gravelly, and laced with an immediate menace as I approached the edge of the grave. His eyes were narrowed, darting between me and the shovel, which he now seemed to eye possessively. "What business is it of yours coming out here?" He moved defensively, taking a subtle step closer to the shovel he had discarded earlier, his body tensing, preparing for confrontation. "What business is it of mine?" I retorted, my voice low and trembling, not from fear, but from the sheer, contained fury that pulsed through me. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, my muscles coiled taut. "What kind of monster are you? What possible wrong could those poor, defenseless animals have done to you?" I gestured wildly, angrily, towards the open grave and the tiny, macabre coffin, the wooden box with its satin lining, now a symbol of ultimate betrayal. He started to rant, his words a jumbled, incoherent stream of justifications, denials, and increasingly explicit threats. His eyes, already wild, darted around, unfocused, flickering between me, the grave, and the distant horizon, as if searching for an escape or an accomplice. He made strange, erratic gestures with his hands, his body language agitated and profoundly unpredictable. For a terrifying moment, a chilling thought crystallized in my mind. This man might be suffering from severe mental health issues. His behavior was so far beyond the realm of rational thought, so completely detached from any semblance of human empathy that it was truly chilling to witness. I had to restrain myself, to fight against the visceral urge to lash out, to grab him, to physically stop him, to pull him away from that monstrous act. The adrenaline coursed through me, making every muscle tense, every nerve-ending tingle. But I knew that any physical contact could escalate the situation beyond control, potentially jeopardizing the puppy's rescue and making my own position legally precarious. I forced myself to take deep, measured breaths, fighting to maintain my composure despite the raging storm of emotions within me. I needed to keep him there, to distract him, to keep him from completing his heinous act until the police arrived. It was a delicate, dangerous balance, a tightrope walk between intervention and restraint. "They're just dogs, vermin, useless," he spat, his voice rising sharply, cracking with a manic edge. "What do you care about them? They're nothing. Get out of here before I make you regret ever stepping foot on this land." He took another menacing step towards the shovel, his hand reaching out, his fingers brushing against the wooden handle. His eyes, burning with a disturbing light, were fixed on me, challenging me. "No," I said firmly, my voice unwavering despite the internal tremor. I stood my ground, digging my heels into the dry earth. "I care. And you're not going to do this. The police are on their way. I called them." The mention of the police seemed to ignite a new, even more potent spark of rage in him, like gasoline thrown on a dying ember. His face contorted, a thick vein throbbing visibly in his temple, pulsing with suppressed fury. "The police? You called the police on me for this?" he shrieked, his voice climbing to a hysterical pitch. "You meddling fool, you'll pay for this. You don't know who you're dealing with." He started to advance on me, his eyes burning with pure, unadulterated menace. I braced myself, preparing for whatever might come, my own anger still simmering just beneath the surface, a volatile current threatening to erupt. My hands clenched into fists at my sides, my muscles coiled taut.
"What kind of monster are you? What possible wrong could those poor, defenseless animals have done to you?" I gestured wildly, angrily, towards the open grave and the tiny, macabre coffin, the wooden box with its satin lining, now a symbol of ultimate betrayal. He started to rant, his words a jumbled, incoherent stream of justifications, denials, and increasingly explicit threats. His eyes, already wild, darted around, unfocused, flickering between me, the grave, and the distant horizon, as if searching for an escape or an accomplice. He made strange, erratic gestures with his hands, his body language agitated and profoundly unpredictable. For a terrifying moment, a chilling thought crystallized in my mind. This man might be suffering from severe mental health issues. His behavior was so far beyond the realm of rational thought, so completely detached from any semblance of human empathy, that it was truly chilling to witness. I had to restrain myself, to fight against the visceral urge to lash out, to grab him, to physically stop him, to pull him away from that monstrous act. The adrenaline coursed through me, making every muscle tense, every nerve-ending tingle. But I knew that any physical contact could escalate the situation beyond control, potentially jeopardizing the puppy's rescue and making my own position legally precarious. I forced myself to take deep, measured breaths, fighting to maintain my composure despite the raging storm of emotions within me. I needed to keep him there, to distract him, to keep him from completing his heinous act until the police arrived. It was a delicate, dangerous balance, a tightrope walk between intervention and restraint. "They're just dogs. Vermin. Useless," he spat, his voice rising sharply, cracking with a manic edge. "What do you care about them? They're nothing. Get out of here before I make you regret ever stepping foot on this land." He took another menacing step towards the shovel, his hand reaching out, his fingers brushing against the wooden handle. His eyes, burning with a disturbing light, were fixed on me, challenging me. "No," I said firmly, my voice unwavering despite the internal tremor. I stood my ground, digging my heels into the dry earth. "I care, and you're not going to do this. The police are on their way. I called them." The mention of the police seemed to ignite a new, even more potent spark of rage in him, like gasoline thrown on a dying ember. His face contorted, a thick vein throbbing visibly in his temple, pulsing with suppressed fury. "The police? You called the police on me? For this?" he shrieked, his voice climbing to a hysterical pitch. "You meddling fool! You'll pay for this! You don't know who you're dealing with!" He started to advance on me, his eyes burning with pure, unadulterated menace. I braced myself, preparing for whatever might come, my own anger still simmering just beneath the surface, a volatile current threatening to erupt. My fists clenched, my jaw tight, ready to defend myself, but more importantly, to defend those innocent lives. Just then, cutting through the vast, empty silence of the desert, I heard it, the faint yet unmistakable wail of a siren. It grew steadily louder, a discordant yet profoundly welcome sound, slicing through the desolate quiet. The man heard it too. His head whipped around, his eyes wide with a mixture of disbelief, panic, and renewed fury. He glared at me, his threats becoming more explicit, more personal, promising me retribution for intervening, for daring to challenge his authority, for exposing his dark deed. But by then, his words were just a distant buzz, a fading echo in the background. My focus had already shifted, my gaze fixed on the approaching police cruiser, a stark white and blue beacon against the dusty reddish-brown landscape, kicking up a dramatic trail of red dust as it sped towards us, a symbol of impending justice. The vehicle skidded to a halt a few yards away, throwing up a final plume of dust. Two officers, a man and a woman, emerged from the cruiser, their expressions grim and professional as they quickly assessed the scene: the open grave, the small, polished coffin, the highly agitated man, and myself standing defiantly before him. Without a moment's hesitation, I quickly pointed towards the man and then to the coffin. "He was trying to bury these puppies alive, officers," I explained succinctly, my voice still tight with the lingering adrenaline. "They're in that coffin, in the hole." The female officer, her face set in a determined line, immediately moved to secure the man, her movements swift and efficient. The male officer, equally composed, approached the grave, his eyes falling on the horrifying contents of the coffin. The man struggled furiously, yelling obscenities at me, at the officers, protesting his innocence, claiming I was harassing him, that this was all a misunderstanding. But his words were hollow, pathetic even, against the undeniable, damning evidence before them. The female officer, calm and professional despite his resistance, quickly subdued him, bringing his flailing arms behind his back and placing him under arrest. As they cuffed him, he continued to direct his seething vitriol at me, his eyes burning with an almost animal hatred, promising me that I would regret this day, that I had made a terrible enemy. I ignored him, turning my back to his useless, empty threats, my attention already elsewhere, drawn irrevocably to the vulnerable lives within the coffin. My gaze was fixed on the small wooden box, on the tiny lives within. My heart seized with a fresh wave of fear, a cold knot in my stomach. They were so still, too still, nestled against the satin lining. Were they still alive? Had I been too late? "Officer," I said, my voice softer now, pleading, stripped of its earlier anger, replaced by desperate hope. "Please, can I take them? I'll care for them, get them to a vet. They're just newborns, barely a day old. They need immediate, intensive attention." The male officer looked at me, his gaze serious, then down at the helpless pups, then back at me. He saw the genuine concern, the desperate plea, the profound compassion in my eyes. He nodded slowly, a small, almost imperceptible gesture, but one that brought immense relief. "Yes, of course," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "Take them. We'll handle him and the scene here. Get them help." A wave of profound, overwhelming relief washed over me, so potent it almost brought me to my knees. It was a physical release, a sudden lightness after the immense tension. I carefully, gently reached into the coffin, my hands trembling slightly, but now with tenderness, not rage, and lifted the 3 tiny bundles. They were so incredibly small, so impossibly fragile, fitting easily, almost weightlessly, into my cupped hands. Their little bodies trembled, whether from cold or fear or both, and their hearts beat a frantic, rapid rhythm against my palms, tiny drums of life against my skin. They were terrified, cold, and undoubtedly starving, their minuscule bodies radiating a vulnerability that tore at my heart. "It's okay, little ones," I murmured, my voice thick with emotion, a raw catch in my throat. I tried to soothe them with the warmth of my hands and the gentleness of my touch, whispering reassurances. "You're safe now. You're safe." I held them close to my chest, cradling them carefully, shielding them from the harsh sun, from the lingering shadow of the terrible scene. I walked away from the open grave, away from the man being led to the police cruiser, towards my truck. The officers were finishing up, the man now silent, resigned as he was placed in the back of the patrol vehicle. I spared him no further thought, no further glance. My entire world had narrowed, focused solely on these 3 fragile lives I held so carefully in my hands.
The drive to the nearest veterinary clinic was a blur of frantic worry and whispered reassurances to the pups. I kept them nestled against my chest, sharing my body heat, occasionally stroking their soft fur with a careful finger. My mind raced, envisioning the worst, yet desperately clinging to hope. The vet, a kind older woman with a no-nonsense but compassionate demeanor, confirmed my fears. They were extremely young, likely less than a day old, and severely malnourished and hypothermic. They required immediate, intensive care, round-the-clock feeding with specialized formula, constant warmth in an incubator, and careful monitoring for any signs of infection. I stayed there for hours, pacing the waiting room, watching through the glass partition as the veterinary staff worked tirelessly to stabilize them, each minute stretching into an eternity. I prayed with a fervor I hadn't felt in years, begging for these innocent lives to be spared. When the vet finally came out, her face was tired but relieved. "They're stable for now," she said, offering a weary but genuine smile. "They're fighters, but the next few days are critical. They'll need constant care." I knew then and there, without a moment's hesitation, that I would provide it. I gave them names that resonated with the profound experience. Hope, for the hope that had saved them. Spirit, for the indomitable spirit of life they represented. And valor, for the courage they unknowingly displayed in simply clinging to existence. The first few weeks were a monumental challenge, a sleepless, relentless odyssey of care. I took immediate time off from work, transforming a corner of my living room into a makeshift nursery. It was a scene of controlled chaos and profound tenderness. A heated bed, tiny bottles of formula, soft blankets, and the constant soft whines of hungry pups. Every 2 hours, day and night, without fail, I woke to feed them, holding each tiny head in my palm, guiding the nipple to their mouths, watching as they suckled with surprising strength. I cleaned them gently, stimulated their little bodies, and held them close, providing the warmth and comfort their mother, tragically, could not. It was exhausting, demanding work, pushing me to my limits of physical and emotional endurance. But every tiny squeak, every twitch of a developing paw, every hesitant lick of my fingers, every sleepy sigh was a reward beyond measure, a confirmation of their fragile hold on life.
Their tiny bodies filled out, their cries grew stronger, their movements more purposeful. They learned to walk, clumsy and wobbly at first, tumbling over their own paws, then with increasing confidence and speed, their little tails wagging like tiny propellers. Their personalities began to emerge, distinct and endearing. Hope, the curious and gentle one, always seeking affection. Spirit, the bold and adventurous, constantly pushing boundaries. And Valor, the loyal and protective, always keeping an eye on his siblings and on me. As they grew, it became increasingly clear that they were not just pets. They were family. They were a constant, living, breathing reminder of that harrowing day, of the darkness I had witnessed and the profound light I had somehow managed to bring into the world. They grew into magnificent German shepherds, strong and noble, just like their breed promised, embodying all the best qualities of their lineage. Their intelligence was remarkable, their loyalty unwavering, their capacity for love boundless. They learned quickly, responding to my commands with an eagerness and devotion that filled my heart with an almost overwhelming sense of gratitude. We trained together, forging an unbreakable bond, a silent understanding built on trust and shared experiences. Now, years later, Hope, Spirit, and Valor are inseparable companions, my triumvirate of furry guardians. They join me on every exploration, every trek into the vast, beautiful wilderness. I often think back to that day, to the man in the coffin, to the horrifying scene that scarred my memory. The image is still stark, a chilling reminder of human depravity, a stark contrast to the natural beauty of the world. But then, I look at Hope, Spirit, and Valor, trotting confidently beside me, their powerful bodies moving with grace, their tails wagging with infectious enthusiasm, their eyes bright with life, intelligence, and unconditional love. And in their vibrant presence, the darkness of that memory is gradually, beautifully overshadowed by the radiant light of their existence. We've seen countless incredible sunrises from remote mountain peaks, navigated winding desert trails where ancient rivers once flowed, and explored forgotten canyons echoing with the whispers of history. These three lives, once condemned to an unimaginable, horrific fate, are now filled with boundless joy, running free, exploring, and loving under the same vast sky that once bore witness to their near demise. And in their eyes, I see not just the reflection of their unconditional love and loyalty, but also a silent, powerful testament to the enduring power of compassion, intervention, and the profound difference one person can make. My heart swells with gratitude for them. They are my living, breathing legacy, a testament to the fact that even the smallest act of kindness can ripple outwards, creating a tidal wave of goodness that transforms lives, both human and animal.